Testing audio.
Hey,
Hello.
hey, how's it going?
I'm doing well. Are
Good, good.
you?
Sorry, I'm in choir mode right now because I can see my handle on Zoom has like my voice part, and I'm like, oh, I
I
don't know
was
if you can
wondering
see
what
that.
the TV stood for. I'm just
The
like,
TV.
you te-
Yeah,
like,
it's
did he
being
test positive for tuberculosis? Is this
no,
like some weird,
no.
weird
Yeah, I
focus group, support group thing?
yeah,
You're very talented.
it's pretty rough if that's the case. But no, I'm healthy right now and I'm all good. So yeah,
Perfect.
yeah, I sing tenor or bass in the choir depending on what I do. So yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
All right. So, are you good to go? Are you nice and settled in?
I think so. I've
The
got
abject look
water.
of terror in your face for a moment there.
I'm always everyone tells me I'm a little neurotic, and
Mhm.
I'm not even going to deny that. So if you hear
It's
me
fine. It's
rambling,
fine. You're in good company here. And frankly, if you ramble, that is perfect for the purposes of the show because that means that I don't have to talk as much, which is great. That's what I
I
love. So
love it.
anyways, I say the words theme song and then I add in a theme song later because I don't feel like playing it immediately.
Oh,
And then I
okay.
say the words, hello and welcome to Hello We Don't Talk Let's Talk, the show where I, Christopher Fogg, reconnect with old friends. And today we have we're gonna say lovable,
Aw.
Alan Xaykongsa. Alan, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here. I've seen several well thumbnails on Facebook of this, and I've clicked on a
Perfect.
few, and it's been interesting to see, say in the least. So
Oh,
it's a joy to be here.
thank you. Thank you for your support, even if it is as simple as noticing a thumbnail. Um, Now, full disclosure, we don't
Sure.
we like I don't think I've ever actually really like sat and chatted with you in like back in high school.
Yeah.
It was like as with most of my friends on Facebook, it's mostly just like an acquaintance sort of basis because of how like I guess tightly knit IB and like the bands were.
Yeah.
So it's basically just like, yeah, we will acknowledge each other in the hallway.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully like maybe know each other's names at best, and that'll be it. Um, so as much as this is going to be a sort of reconnection, this is essentially just like a first meeting as far as I'm concerned. But we're gonna
I'm very
start nice
fine
and
with
simple. Alan, how are you doing today?
that. I am great. I know originally, so it's funny because originally we scheduled this earlier, and I woke up a little late, and I was gonna go for a bike ride, and then decided to go for a run instead because my company has like a fitness challenge, and you get points for doing different
Oh hell
activities.
yeah!
So I was like, oh, I have this coming up. I still want to get an activity in, but I don't want to spend 3 hours biking. So um, I thought I'd fit a little run in. So that's what I did. Had a little refreshed, had a little shower, and I'm here. So things are fine and dandy. Things are really well. I'm great. Thank
Delightful.
you. Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so you said that's sort of part of a sort of initiative at your job. What is it that you
yeah.
do?
I am a transportation planner, a junior transportation planner. I just started full time in February. So I
Congrats.
work for, thank you, for a infrastructure engineering company, and I'm in transportation engineering. So that's what I do.
Gotcha. Is that still KW or have you moved elsewhere?
I am still at home because it's free for me at least.
Good.
Taking advantage of
Wise.
that, right? But the company is actually based in Vaughan, so in the GTA,
I
and a
see.
lot of the work is GTA based. And I have to say, working from home has been awesome. I have loved a lot of working from home. There are some gripes, but I
Mhm.
think working from home has so many benefits that outweigh, commuting. If I had to commute to Vaughan
Oh,
every
that'd be
day,
bonkers.
yeah, I don't know. I've saved a lot of money in that sense. So, but everything's just been changed because of the pandemic, of course, and um, it's great to still be able to have. I'm very fortunate, I will say, like to find a full time job and be working in the midst of a time when a lot of people are struggling. So I'm very thankful for that, and to have a safe place to be. So yeah,
Beautiful.
yeah,
So I haven't actually like seen you since high school,
no,
and not knowing much about you then, like how would you say? Actually, we're gonna start something more simple.
sure.
What has your life been like in the sort of intervening decade?
Yeah, it's weird to say that it's been a decade since high school, because it really has been, right?
Mhm.
because 2011 I was elected co-chief then with Andrea, and
Nice.
it's been 10 years since that, right? I think things have pretty much stayed pretty much the same. I think if you, and maybe this is biased because these are the people I know from high school, but I still stay in touch with folks, and people would say that like nothing has changed about me since high school. I think I matured really early, so I'm like, the person I was in high school is exactly the same person you're going to see now, except maybe a little more jaded to the world.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Welcome to the jaded ship.
yeah, it's the way life goes. But things have been great, and I'm moving on up in the world, and it's weird to say that I haven't changed that much, but I guess that's just the way things are.
Yep.
So.
So like out of high school, where did life end up taking you?
I ended up at the University of Waterloo.
Mhm.
So of course our good hometown, one of our good hometown post-secondary institutions.
We'll call it the
Um,
good post second, the good one.
the I had to I have to I don't want to mince my words or mince everybody's um, opinions and stuff, but it's I actually took a fifth year of high school. I took a victory lap, but only for half the year, so one semester, and that was a chance for me to, contribute back to the music community at Cameron, since I was really involved there
Mhm.
with that. And even since that time, I was connected in volunteering with the music department throughout these past 10-ish, 9-ish, 8,
Wow.
whatever, however many years, and that's always been a source of joy for me. Um, but yeah, going back to university, I did my undergrad in geological engineering, which is one of the smallest, if not the smallest programs there. But it was great because, it's a very small class, and we were a very tight-knit group. And I don't think you have that with a lot of cohorts at the University of Waterloo, for larger classes especially. The engineering system, it works by you have a large group of people that move up together and take all the same core courses, and then you have electives and stuff you can choose, but you're kind of with this group throughout the entirety of university, which is nice. And after that, I completed a master's in civil engineering and transportation engineering, since I wanted to do a little pivot to what I'm doing now as a full-time job. And that was really great. It was an opportunity to further my learning in that sense. And here we are today.
Nice.
Yeah.
Uh, so like coming out of that victory lap, like did you have a sort of clear path that you had thought of when you were applying to university, or was it just kind of like just picking something at random, hoping that sticks, and then pivoting from there?
Yeah, it's definitely the latter. I remember I was like and was it grade 11 you apply, or grade 12, whatever it was. You're like, oh, you get 3 free university applications. All right, I'm going to apply to these 3 programs because I'm interested in them right now. I was like, okay, geological engineering because I like rocks. But when you apply to engineering, you can pick 3 disciplines that you are interested in. So I had civil, chemical, and geological,
Mhm.
and I got into geological, so I took it. But I also applied for medicinal chemistry because of IB chemistry. So I don't know if you remember, they had like these options at the end. You had like the core courses, and then you had these units at the end that were like analytical chemistry or biochemistry. I didn't
Sure.
like one of them, so I just studied on my own one of them in the book. And I was like, oh, drugs, cool. So I learned about that, and that was great. I got a 7 in chemistry, which was great.
Yep.
And then that's one of the choices for my application. And then there was biomedical science at Western, which I had no idea how competitive biomed in general is to get in. I think I was off by like maybe like a decimal point to get in. I was
Oh
like,
wow.
oh, so I mean, it is what it is. But I'm glad I ended up in engineering because of co-op, and making some moolah to pay for school with. Any co-op program is wonderful, I think, in that sense,
Mhm.
and just to get experience. But yeah.
And was it through one of those co-op terms that led you to pivot to the sort of civil transportation path?
Yeah, I think I knew I always wanted to do transportation as a potential career or something to be involved in the future, and that was why I had picked civil as one of the 3 potential um, engineering disciplines
Mhm.
when I applied to Waterloo. And I was still able to actually take some transportation courses in my geological degree because it fell under this whole umbrella of civil engineering anyway. It was all part of the civil engineering department. So there are four programs now, actually: the civil engineering program, the environmental engineering program, geological, and the architectural engineering. All of them fall under this department umbrella of civil.
I see.
So I was able to take transportation courses and take on transportation co-ops um, to to complete my degree. And I'm thankful for that because I mean, I think if you were stuck doing certain things for co-op and it had to be within your discipline, a lot of students would not get jobs.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of mishmash, and I know one of my classmates, he actually ended up working at Bacardi for one of his co-ops, which is really
Nice.
interesting. But
Very cool.
anyways, that's the co-op game. Did you do co-op when you were at school, or
No, I was just a regular guy.
just a regular?
Yeah, I
Oh, don't do that.
I hmm, I didn't of the programs that I applied to, um, I didn't actually get accepted into any of them, so they gave me
Mm.
an alternate offer into honors mathematics,
Oh yeah.
just like a regular stream. And I had heard stories about like PD from my sister. I'm just like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'll work a summer job if I have to or something. I didn't have as high a value on co-op
Mm,
as I maybe should have because I didn't really like my thoughts on it were just like very surface level.
mm,
Um, so yeah, I just didn't bother to like switch into co-op at
mm.
all.
I
But
think
I've heard overall net positive things.
I would say, yeah, I there the online community, which propagates a lot of the co-op reputations, um, i.e. Reddit. I
Mhm.
think they I don't know, certain programs really blow things out of proportion. And I think at the end of the day, regardless of whether it's co-op or an internship or whatever kind of summer job you're getting, as long as you're getting some sort of experience while you're in university, or even not necessarily in university, just some sort of experience. A lot of people graduate university without any, and I think that's very I personally, I think that's kind of concerning because it's that opportunity to really gain those skills so that you are um, able to get your foot in the door, right? And
Mhm.
it is what it is, I guess. If you don't get to work, or you don't have the opportunity or have the means to, but if you can, it's great, right? So yeah. But at the end of the day, you have a degree, so I think
Oh yeah.
that's that's the important thing, in my opinion, right? And education is something that people can never take away from you.
Mhm.
Assuming you didn't plagiarize or anything, but
No, absolutely not. I didn't plagiarize, but I will say that I wasn't like fully into my program for the sake of like my own interest in the program. It was more
Mm,
so uh so like I said, I got in for math.
yeah.
Around second year, I started to like have struggles academically.
Mm,
I just like wasn't grasping concepts as well as I had in previous years because uh, being the kind of guy that I am, I was like crushing math all the way up until grade 12, and then when that first year came around, I still did a pretty decent job, um, but then like concepts started to get a bit more abstract, and like my mind just couldn't wrap itself around,
mm,
and I didn't have like good study habits because at that point I didn't like need to have good study habits because I was just like
yeah.
getting by on a sort of like instinctual processing of the material.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel that. I feel
yeah,
that really hard.
so then I got absolutely punished when you know I wasn't getting things right away, and then
Yeah.
I didn't know how to like teach my brain how to learn things properly.
Yeah.
Um, so my grades like just went off the cliff for a bit. I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I need to just step back from this.
Fair
Um,
enough.
so I took like an academic leave for about a year and a half, something like that. And during that time, being from an Asian family, people are just like, "So, when are you gonna finish your degree?" I would
Oh.
just smile. I would just smile and
Yep.
nod because I didn't have an answer for them.
Yep. Yep.
Because for that time, I had no interest in really going back to school.
Yeah.
Um, So in order to stop that question from being asked, I just kind of took stock of what I had credits wise, and figured out what the fastest path to getting a degree would have been, in the sort of least painful way. And the economics courses that I took as electives were overall like tolerable. Um, it is a social science of how people make decisions. It's like I can do that. Like my brain didn't have any major issues in understanding what was going on for the most part.
Mm,
Um, so yeah, so I wound up graduating with a BA in economics with a
great.
minor in math and a specialty in finance.
Nice, nice. And you're in insurance now, right?
Yep, currently
If I
working
recall.
as an examiner.
Right.
Technically speaking, did not need the degree for it, but you know what? It's fine.
Again, something that people will never take away. Those two extra letters at the end of your name, no one will ever be able to take,
Mhm.
away from you. So I think it's still valuable, and it's definitely an experience. I I think I'm in a weird boat when it comes to how my parents treated me throughout school, because I didn't come from a very strict family,
Mm.
academically speaking. My mom was always the one driving, like, in the sense that she was like, "Okay, I want you to do well," but I was never like forced or punished to do anything. And I think, I hear the stories of how a lot of Asian families can be really strict, and the whole like not losing face and stuff like that, when they're comparing children against one another and things like
Yeah.
that. Like, I don't know, maybe it's so I'm my parents are from Laos, and maybe we're just more chill about this. I don't know, my like it's just I felt really fortunate in that sense, so I felt free enough, and I knew if I had troubles, which I did, first year was rough for me. I think, you come off gliding from that high school, you're like, oh, this is easy. And it's like, I don't even have to study for this. It's
Well,
like, I
yeah, like
already
I
know
got
all this
sevens in
stuff.
IB. Like I'm
Yeah,
golden.
right. Yeah, and then you come into university, you're like, I don't need to do this. I didn't even read the syllabus for one of my courses. I didn't realize you had to submit assignments to get like marks. It's like, what an idiot. And so I failed like physics and first year
Oh
engineering because
wow.
I just didn't care. But I think at that time, it was 1 year between finishing grade 12, and starting university as well. And I think not having, coming off that high of grade 12, I wouldn't say fifth year was like amazing. It was great, but, grade 12 for me was, a high point for me. I hate to say that I peaked in high school, but yeah, I think that's really the case. And you know what, whatever, so be it. But I really came crashing hard in first year, and it took a long time to rebuild. And I would say I'm really fortunate, that I wasn't, forced into doing anything. I did get the question though, is like, when you're finishing your degree, I'm like, sometime. I will just, down the road.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it's interesting to hear how different, families have those different, just communication,
Mhm.
um, quirks, I guess, if that's the way, or habits, maybe is a better way of describing it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's weird because like I think part of it is just like the sort of like my own neuroses, because I think for the most part my parents were also pretty chill about like my academics. They were just
Mhm,
like, you know, in the same boat of I just want you to do well, and as long as you try your hardest, then that's all that they really cared about.
mhm.
Um, but then me myself internally being like mildly competitive and having an older sibling
Oh
who
yeah.
went to the same university, I'm just like, okay, I can do at least as well as my sister, and like completely different programs. So like it's apples and oranges at that point. Um, but like she did co-op. She didn't seem to really have much in the way of struggles. Had like a nice support group. Just like grinded it out and like got her degree. I'm just like, okay, it shouldn't be too bad then. And then I think the sort of seed of the academic neurosis was just like when I didn't get into any of the programs I applied to. I
Mm,
was like, okay, that's unsettling.
yeah, yeah. I feel that first rejection letter from
Yeah.
Western. Screw you, Western. That was my thought the entire time. I'll use a different, I would have used a different word, but
Oh,
no, it's
it's
just,
a classic Wuckfestern situation.
oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. But I think, there's, okay, if there was a big change from high school to now, if we're going back to that initial question,
Sure.
I think I've become a lot more humble and understanding of others when it comes to just getting somewhere in life, right? Like if someone's having a struggle in first year, I get it now. It's like, you come, even coming into grade 9, I would say in high school, you're like, oh, I got into the IB program. I am so much better than these folks who are not in the IB program. And it's like, everything got knocked off your high horse afterwards. I feel like in grade 12, I started to become a lot more aware of that when people were like crying because of failing their first test. I remember his calculus.
Oh yeah.
I remember this specifically. Oh, this is juicy. Not really. But I was like, there we had this Facebook group, and people were complaining about like failing the limits test. Like limits is the first unit in
Mhm.
grade 12 calculus. And I said, guys, calm down. It's not that bad. Like we're gonna be fine. And someone deleted my comment. Like it's like they want to wallow in their sorrows the entire time. Like, are you kidding me? Guys, calm the F down. Like, well,
You have time to learn.
I know.
Just
And
do it.
it's just, I think, I know high school's a time of, there,
Teen angst and emotion.
yes, yes. And you want to be dramatic about everything. I'm like, guys, really? Like, I don't know. It just seemed really, it just so extra. It was so extra. And I'm not saying I didn't participate in certain things like that. You're like, oh yeah, I got to get, a 7 in this, I got to get 7, whatever. But I think, having then faced so much of those difficulties throughout university, because I up until even fourth year, I was still getting like 60s in some courses. And
Mhm.
it's just, it's like, oh, whatever, I passed. C's get degrees.
It's about goal setting.
Yeah. Right. I think, that made me be a lot more aware and compassionate towards folks that are making an effort. I think the effort part is the important thing. And on the flip side, becoming a TA, you see, so I was a TA throughout my master's in certain courses and stuff like that, and you want students to do well, and you want, or at least I want to make sure that I can help them get there. And I feel like I would be a worse TA if I had just sailed through university really easily. I guess what I'm saying is like university was a struggle in a lot of academic parts and other parts too. And I am thankful for that because I am a lot more open-minded when it comes to understanding others. So I don't know. I guess that's what open-minded means, but I'll stop.
I I think that's like one of the more important parts about like just growth and development as people,
Mhm.
where as long as you like survive failure,
Yeah.
like you come out of it, you come out of it better.
Mhm.
Um, yeah. Com- end
There,
of thought.
yeah, yeah. There, I do recognize there, it's not everybody can, and mental health, at the University of Waterloo, that's always been like
Oh, for
I don't
sure.
want to say a touchy subject because it's not even touchy. It's just like
True.
it is an issue, right? And um, I definitely, it was third year 3B. I was having a lot of mental health struggles, and I was visiting the psychologist and counselor and stuff like that. And I somehow I was able to grow out of and work out of what I was experiencing. But I know for so many people that's not the case, and
Mhm.
um, it's saddening and maddening, really, for a lot of students there, and especially now. I mean, if that was when we were in live like classes and stuff like that, now we're in the case where students are who knows where and trying to get their degree, and working through that. I know my brother's my brother's in university right now. He's in the Enviro Eng program, and I mean he's studying like a madman, trying to pass this term and stuff like that. And um, I don't know. I would hate to go through university like this, personally. And I know it's not anybody's first choice. For some people, it's reality. It was like that before the pandemic, but um, it's just tough. It's really hard. I guess is what I'm saying.
No arguments here.
No.
Um, yeah, like when I was in math, I like didn't really connect with pretty much anybody in my classes because of like partially because of class size and just how many people there were,
Mm,
and just like uh, when I was in lecture, I was still like focusing on just like what was happening, and like what was being said,
mm,
and then I would go home and I would play video games. And I think like in that sort of era between like the struggles academically and just like the sort of self-imposed social isolation, I think which didn't help anything. Like my mental health also took a bit of a dive.
mhm, mhm.
Um,
I didn't
I
meet anyone in
don't.
my class until second year, so like,
Oh wow.
like I just didn't talk to people. I felt very like insular. So
Yeah.
maybe that was.
I was like very envious of like the friends that I had who were in like the same program as other friends that I have. I'm just like, okay, you have like a buddy, like there's a clear buddy system that can be implemented here.
Yeah.
But,
I think, I'm a very introverted like part of my visit to the psychologist revealed that I had like really bad social anxiety, like really, really, really up in the, what's that thing, the bell curve, the I swear I was a stats TA too. This is really concerning. um anyways, I was up there, and I real that made sense to me because I was like, it's always hard for me to like go out and meet new people, and I feel very uncomfortable and I put on a very, like, I don't know if tough is the word because I'm not the toughest guy ever. It was more just kind of like a cold. I put on a very cold face, cold front, when I'm around
Stoic.
in situations, yeah, people I don't know, right? But as soon as I ease into it, it's fine. Then I
Mhm.
come out and
You
like,
loosen
hey,
up a little.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if that's what you were going through or what, how that worked out, but
Yeah,
did
we're
you end
here
up?
now. I
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't quite like I'm not sure if I quite like remember the path I took to like getting at least a little bit better.
yeah.
At least better enough to go back and finish my degree.
Mm,
I think part of it was just like sort of confidence,
mm,
where like the subject material in econ was different from the subject material in math, and
right.
you know, I felt like I was able to know more, and then that would translate into confidence, which would translate into like sort of a better sense of self,
Mm,
um, which is a wonderful thing to have.
any confidence is wonderful to
Yeah,
have.
I think the times when I'm most nervous is just like when I don't know either what's happening around me or what is about to happen.
Mm.
And that is essentially what anxiety is. It's a worry
Oh,
about like
totally.
something that's about to happen. Um,
And it could be totally insignificant too.
mhm.
And like, it still, like, comes down to your core, and you're like, oh, like, oh, I don't know, that's a feeling I get personally, but
Oh yeah. So routing back to something that was mentioned earlier,
mm,
you said you were very heavily involved with the music department at our old high school,
yeah.
and have basically continued to do that. In what capacity is it that you assist around there?
So I haven't, obviously since the pandemic, I haven't really been back, but I was a choir conductor, for some of the extracurricular music groups for, well, the choirs, I should
Mhm.
say. So in the first few years when I came back, I was asked to lead a male voice choir, which was really exciting, really fun.
Mm.
And later I got to come back, and contribute as the chamber choir director. So at Cameron, for the past, I want to say, like 10 years, or for a long time, there was always the main choir, which was like a non-audition group, and then
Mhm.
the chamber choir, which is a smaller, more audition group. So I had the opportunity to work with those students and perform with them at different concerts. And sometimes we would also go off-site and go to different venues or locations or events to perform, which is always exciting. And it's more, easy, more feasible because you have fewer students to transport and move around. And it was a blast. I loved it because it's like having my own choir for free, except I put the time in, right? Yeah, I have to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning to get there, but like I derived a lot of joy from connecting and working with these students, and of course making some really fun music together. So yeah.
Delightful. How long has choir been a part of your life? Like, were you doing it pre
Ooh.
high school even?
Yeah, so I've always loved singing. I think as a kid, my dad, I still remember this actually. So we used to live in a little apartment on Brybeck, and even before that, it was a different house, but I don't remember that. And we would take like video cassette tapes, VHS tapes
Mhm,
of like karaoke, Thai karaoke. Um, and I would listen to them over and over and over again because that was just music for me. It was really fun.
mhm.
But the first time I ever actually got to sing in a group setting was in grade 1, and it's part of the Christmas play or the Christmas spectacle concert, whatever you want to call it,
Mhm.
and we're singing together, and I just loved it, right? And I think ever since then in grade school I had the opportunity to, anytime there was a thing to do where I was singing, um,
Hand
singing
immediately
being,
goes up.
yeah, like I was like, yeah, pull me in, right? And I think, yeah, I don't think there was a year in school where I wasn't doing some sort of singing activity. Maybe grade 2. Nah, who knows? That's a lot of years of school to think about. But no, yeah, we had karaoke and singing in the home, and of course, I was looking for an outlet to do that as well, and that was what it translated into.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Um, on the UW side of things, I
Mm.
assume you were doing some amount of choirs there.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny because the only extracurricular I did throughout all of university was the university choir, like the main University of Waterloo choir. And I was involved in that, I think, every term of school, even co-op terms where I was like living in the area, but I wasn't at UW, I was still involved in the choir. Um, and even on terms where I was away, I found some way of not maybe participating in the choir, but like contributing in some way. I had a really good connection with the conductor, Gerard Young. Um, and so, that was a great opportunity for me to also conduct there. So I had some experience working with a lot of the singers at the University of Waterloo, and that was so much fun, just so much fun. And it just so happened that the last term that Dr. Yun was conducting was also my last term of my undergrad. So it worked out pretty well. I had the same conductor for four years of schooling, plus whatever years of co-op and stuff. So yeah, it was great.
Wow.
Yeah, long times, long times.
Quick tangent off of this:
Yeah.
choirs versus a cappella groups.
I was never involved in the a cappella groups. So it's funny because when I was looking back at some of your previous episodes, I saw Alex Meinzinger,
Mhm.
and she pulled me into some one choir when I was in high school outside of Cameron, and we've known each other since I was in grade 9.
Mhm.
So it was nice seeing a familiar face on the on the podcast. Um, but I never was involved really in the a cappella groups. I admire their talent, but I think their rehearsal schedules never lined up with when I had courses, because geological engineers got shafted when it came to course scheduling. I was like,
Gotcha.
this is never going to work out.
They're
Um,
like how do we inconvenience the fewest amount of people? Oh, this is like the smallest program. We'll
yeah,
just give them the worst possible timings.
really, really. Well, and I mean, the difficulty was um, geological is split. A lot of the courses are taken within the engineering department, but also within the earth sciences department in the science faculty.
Mhm.
And so you need to have this cross coordination. And we were unfortunate in the sense that our cohort did not get a lot of that coordination. So we're like, oh, why do we have a course here? And then, like it made no sense for a lot of years. And also, I just didn't have the time. I think I was really comfortable with doing the traditional choir thing, and I liked what we were doing and being engaged in. And I attended some of the a cappella concerts. They're fantastic groups at Waterloo. I like it's. I mean, I never was part of it, but it's like nice to say like, oh, we had some of the best a cappella groups in the country or something like that. Like we are the biggest, most a cappella groups or whatever the stats were for Waterloo. So no, I wasn't involved in a
Mhm.
cappella. That was a really long answer. I'm so sorry.
No, that's perfectly fine. I was mostly hoping to get like some kind of uh like music nerd war between choirs and a cappella groups
Oh
going,
no,
but it's fine.
no.
You have
I
nothing but positive things to say about the a cappella groups, and that is
no.
a-okay.
I am not here to shit on groups. Because that's the thing. It's like, university is a tough time. Like, if you find something that you're passionate about and you want to participate in, you do it. And if that brings you joy, I'm not gonna. Who am I to stop someone from having joy in their life in this shitty time in
Damn
their
right.
lives? Like, so I think they are different things. They are music, obviously, but but I I think I really enjoyed. I was just used to what the kind of traditional choir format was, and now I not to not step out of my boundaries, but if the opportunity was there, I just didn't take it. So is what it is. Yeah.
uh, so an important part about, I guess, leading a choir is, figuring out what songs you're gonna do.
Mm,
Like what goes into song selection for a choir.
mm. Um, I've had to think a lot about this in recent years, even though I haven't been dealing with choirs much. Um, Previously, and this is definitely my ego talking, but I was like, okay, this is a fun song, and if a song was something that I thought, if it was a crowd pleaser, I guess, I would try to program it if I thought it was, if a choir was capable of doing it. And this is speaking if I were running a group and stuff. But oftentimes, I think depending on the purpose of the group, and by purpose, is it an academic group that needs to meet certain requirements, or is it just an extracurricular and you can do whatever you want? Is it for a spring concert, a winter concert? Depending on whatever you're dealing with, that's going to provide inspiration for and direction for what you're going to choose, and also knowing what your choir is capable of, because you wouldn't pick certain things that are very, very complex and difficult
Mhm.
for a group that's a beginner group. And I also tried to pick songs, going back to my first point, that I liked. I think that's like, at the end of the day, like, no one wants to be doing, you want to be singing and learning stuff that they aren't going to enjoy. And and it's difficult to say what makes each song enjoyable. There might be a different aspect of various songs that I hope people are drawn to, or that I'm drawn to, and I hope that translates to the people singing it. But it also all has to work cohesively as a unit. And by work cohesively, I mean, if you have say a set of 3 songs that you want to do, are they going to work together? Are they going to be too similar? Are they going to be very different from each other? Is one going to have one like contrasting message to another? Is it just going to be like, where did that come from? Is the audience going to fall asleep to this? There's a lot of things I think that go into making this, into picking choir music. And I'm by no means like an expert in this. I don't have a music degree. I do it for fun. I do it for because it brings me joy, and I am not the most technical conductor in the slightest. But see, I feel like if any music people are clicking on this, or choir people are going to click on this, you're like, this guy's such an asshole. That's what I'm worried about. But like, I don't know. I think also being like an Asian conductor, like a non-white conductor, because a lot of our Western music education is it's led by white educators. I think I try to bring a more multicultural perspective, and it's funny because, again, going back to my first, I keep saying that, my point about having to think about picking music over the past couple of years. One thing here, I think, in a lot of Western choirs and groups has just been kind of the willy-nilly picking a song that is not a Western choir song, say from a different culture, is what I'm saying, for the sake of having a song from a different culture, as opposed to actually picking it and trying to extract or respect the traditions and meaning behind what that song is. So it's kind of like, I hate this, it's kind of like a cop out, or the token African song the choir performs. It's like, oh, we have all this like classical traditional choir music, and then we have an African song at the end or somewhere in the middle to break things up. I'm like, I've had to really think about that in recent years, of course, because of the whole Black Lives Matter movement and BIPOC racism going on. Not going on, but you know, that's
That's oh
really come
yeah.
to light. Which I can't believe I'm saying that, but it's not come to light. It's that I've become more aware of
Aware
and
of it, yeah.
educated on in recent times. So that's become something I haven't had the chance to incorporate into how I pick choir music yet. Not knowing when I'm going to have another opportunity to work in a choir setting is means I don't have to think about it too strongly, but it's still something I do think about. You know, just thinking down the road, whatever might happen with that. And I think we should all, any educator, anybody leading a group, it's such a valuable lesson, right? To be to think much more about where your music is coming from and what your purpose is in doing it, as opposed to just picking because
For
you
the
like
sake
it.
of picking it, yeah.
Yeah, for the sake of picking it, exactly, right? So um, I'm sorry if I I don't know
No,
who
this
I'm
is
apologizing to, but like um,
you are
it sounds ignorant, but
this is all above board.
okay. I'm trying is I guess my point, but I'm still learning. We're all learning. So yeah, that was a very long answer to how you pick choir music, but
um, so you mentioned, you know, picking songs that because they're fun. What in particular are like the sort of elements of a song that makes
mm,
it stand out to you?
lots of songs make me stand out to me. Right now in my tastes, if you will, I really like either really ooey gooey rich chords and things that you're like, oh, that harmony just it's something you can really sink into, that you can really like melt into, that just is so luscious and um is just really nice to sing. Or I like something that's a little more upbeat, has some sort of rhythm to it. And one thing that's been really I've noticed as a more increasing trend has been the incorporation of movement. So, you know, when maybe this might be your thought too. And you notice with between the difference between a lot of a cappella and choir is that there's a lot more movement and choreography involved in a cappella
Mhm.
performances, right? And choirs in the Western world have recently begun to I think incorporate that more in their programming, in their song choices. So, you know, not just strictly standing still and seeing nice music, but stuff that you can move to, that there are movements to, that there are actions to, or that you can tell a story somehow through how you stage it, or even just something that gets the choir even just bopping along, or that you know, if it's a song that you think you'll want to sing and enjoy, or that I want to sing and enjoy, my thought is that it's probably going to be something the audience will enjoy and want to listen to too. So that's kind of the a perspective thing. So that's the element for me um, there, just having some sort of nice harmonies or just something upbeat and fun. I it's a really hard way to say, thing to describe, but
There's just some like je ne sais quoi about it
yeah.
that just speaks. It just reaches out to you and enraptures you.
Totally. And that's different for everybody, right? Like everyone's going to have different preferences. Everyone's going to think this is a garbage piece. This is a great piece. I have those opinions too. But I mean, I think anybody who's involved in any sort of evaluation process like that, like you're going to have your opinions, and maybe it's a bit snobbish, but if it's my choir at the end of the day, I'm picking this, you know? So,
Yes.
yeah. And I have made wrong choices before, and I recognize that. And sometimes you have to pivot. You have to like, oh, this is not going to work. We're nixing this. And that's fine because that's a lesson learned. So
What was a scenario that stood out to you as like a sort of wrong choice, and what was it
I
about it that made you feel that way?
little off. I think when you get, so a typical choir rehearsal schedule would be something like a few rehearsals or one rehearsal a week up to a certain point for say 10, 12, 13, whatever number of weeks until the concert. And if you're like by a certain point, the choir isn't getting it, or you're not feeling it, or you're sensing that there's discomfort or just it's not clicking with the group, you kind of have to make I think you have to make an executive decision. I think I've made the decision previous to that to just trudge forward, and it doesn't always end up in a great performance. And one thing I learned is you need to be able to figure out those situations and not put the people you are working with in a position that they have to make up for your bad choice, if that makes sense. It's like you're going to do it because I say it. No, I don't want to put people in that position, and because I have before, and I feel really guilty afterwards. And that's, as a young conductor, you learn not to do that. Eventually, I hope. There's certain situations, depending, because it's all amateur, it's all extracurricular, right? I don't know what professional settings are like, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been in a sort of similar boat lately. So I am the guild master / raid leader of a World of Warcraft guild,
Oh wow.
which is in the same vein of organizing a choir, I suppose. You set out a sort of plan of action. Um, People have certain roles that they need to take on,
Mhm.
and in the current level of content, um, I've made like a lot of sort of boneheaded decisions that put undue pressure on certain people,
Pressure,
and
yeah.
we wind up uh, struggling longer than we have to.
Mm.
Whereas if I had just made like a different decision, a couple weeks back, instead of just like committing to what we have or what we had going on, things would be a lot less tense in the atmosphere right now.
No. This is a really weird analogy, but I think too, when I'm like packing for a trip and I overpack, and then they say like one tip is like you pack something, or you pack your bags, you sleep on it, not literally on it, but like you take like overnight, you
Of
look at
course.
it and you try to cut it by half and think about what you don't need, or like when you make, I don't know, when you're making something and you take something off and you're like, oh, it should be there, but then at the end of the day you realize that like you never noticed that it wasn't there, or
Mhm.
people aren't going to notice that it wasn't there, sort of. It's I think it's because we know what we had planned, we know what we are hoping for, we know what we were intending, and if it's not going the right way, we're the only ones who would actually know that at the end of the day if we're presenting this to other people, right?
Yes.
So it's like if I'm presenting, say, like 5 songs or something like that, and I cut one of them, no one's in the audience is going to know that I cut one of the songs. Like if
Mhm.
like who cares,
It's
right?
not like it was like you had programs right now. It's just like, okay,
Yeah,
where was this one?
yeah. And if you're at that point, well then like, oh. But I think it's the internal, I don't know if angst is the right word, but like the internal conflict, I guess, between like, um, what was supposed to happen versus what the reality is and what people actually care about, right? So
It's like sort of adjacent to perfectionism. Like you had a
yeah,
vision and then it didn't go quite as planned,
yeah,
but you had something in your mind that on paper should work,
yes,
but wasn't
yes,
like practical.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I think I've had to tone it down a lot for myself and be like, okay, this is realistic. This is realistic. This is not, So, and I'm sure being, I've never actually played World of Warcraft, so
Yeah, not a lot of people I know
I,
have. So you're in fine company.
okay. So I am not a gamer by
Mhm.
any means. I love Pokemon, but I haven't
Oh
even
yeah.
played. I haven't even played Sun and Moon or anything like past that yet. Like I played X and Y last year for the first time. I don't want to say this.
You're not a dedicated fan, but you appreciate the game.
I love I still enjoy it, right? Like if
Mhm.
I'm not into like super violent gaming, or anything that has gore or anything like that. I prefer like, I don't know how to describe it, like family friendly. Like I
Just
is
like a
that
nice wholesome game, like
wholesome? That's right. Yeah,
a
yeah.
game that'll be rated E for everybody.
There we go. There we go. And if it's E10, that's raunchy. That's whoa, whoa.
too
Um, yeah,
too spicy.
yeah. But no, yeah, I haven't played much of that. But I got a gaming computer at the end of my master's. I was like, okay, getting Civ.
Nice.
So I've been slowly playing through games of that. I'm terrible at it, but it's it's fun, being a ruler. It's very
Empowering.
it is, but if you feel like, do I want to take over Rome? Like, like you're like, I feel guilty, and then you're like, nah, I should just be tyrannical or something like that. So I don't know.
It's
You
just
know.
like a sort of glimpse into a future where it's like, what if I had the nuclear codes? Like, what would this even
Oh
be
my
like?
gosh, right? Like, I don't know. And I know there's like all these. So I've only started playing. I only have Civ. I have Civ 5 and 6. I haven't played 6 yet, but I have. There's something of. This is revealing how like naive or just like uneducated I am about like memes in general and stuff like that, or internet culture.
Mhm.
But there's this whole like Gandhi nukes everybody thing. Like I don't know.
Yes. So basically,
Is that
okay. So if I recall my lore correctly, in the early Civ games, um, basically the mechanics that dealt with your relation to other people, uh, being a computer program would just like change the value of something uh, by some set number.
mm,
Now, I think it was like Gandhi had a zero for some stat, but when you interacted with him unfavorably, it would basically bring it to like a negative number. Or no, sorry, it would have like negative 255 because that was like the sort of limitation of
right?
of the variable type. So when it would go to like a threshold below 255, which it like caused the game to just kind of like panic, and thus Gandhi would be the Gandhi that Western culture generally sees as like a peaceful guy, peaceful protesting guy, into absolute warmonger Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh my gosh. And that's where the nukes start coming in.
That is where the nukes started coming in.
Ah, okay. Thank you for educating me. I see. I don't have the willpower or the energy to like Google some of these things, even though it's typing things into a search bar. But like, I wouldn't have known.
Well,
I there's a lot to that
there,
game I still want to improve
I
on.
feel
So
like there isn't a lot that I do know, but I do know something like that, and I'm more than happy to share that kind of knowledge.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. I think yeah, the I feel like the most gaming I really did even throughout university was like I would download ROMs on my phone of old Pokemon.
Yeah.
Okay, second year. It was exam time. I downloaded Pokemon Emerald. What was I thinking? I- Like I wanted to make it to the Battle Frontier and do all these sorts of things. I don't know how much of a Pokemon head you are, but like
Emerald was, I think, the last Pokemon game that I played
last one
like
you
all the way
play.
through. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. No, I really enjoyed it. But now they're coming up with new ones, and I don't even have a Switch, so I don't
Ooh.
know. I
It is a good system. I have one. I haven't actually played it because I'm
no.
just like so much more of a PC gamer and
Mm,
things that
mm. Okay, what are your favorite PC games then? Just as somebody who's like
sure.
not well versed at all,
Um,
I'm so curious.
so like my sort of like player, I guess, behaviors skew towards
Behaviors.
multiplayer co-op experiences.
Oh, okay.
Um, so like a game like Dark Souls is it's not for me.
I
Even
don't
like
know that.
Zelda is not something that like I'm particularly interested in. But like,
Oh,
as I've said before, World of Warcraft, big fan of that game. I've been playing it since launch essentially, and that's like 15 years ago at this point, if not
whoa.
more. Um, Even something like the MOBAs like League of Legends, Dota, Smite, etc., where you queue up, and then you're instantly in a team of like five other people. Now, is that because I enjoy working with others, or is it because I like having a convenient outlet to blame if something goes unfavorably? I don't know at this point, but uh, uh, it, something about the format appeals to me.
Mm,
I've recently started playing Sea of Thieves with a bunch of friends, where you are all you're basically playing the role of a pirate.
ooh,
It's very open ended, so you just basically go from island to island, plundering things, and then
mm.
bringing it back to some person who will happily pay you for um, whatever non gold doubloon good you found. Um, and Yeah. But as far as like something that you can absolutely just kind of jump into without needing to like worry about, am I going to be good enough to work in this team, or, do I know other people who will join me in this? Hades was a game that came out last year, and aesthetically, not something in your wheelhouse. Now that I think about, now that I think a
Aesthetically.
bit more about, it is because of what you said about like the sort of games that have appealed to you in the past.
Ah, okay.
Um, because I think it's rated R. There's a lot of like,
Whoa.
uh, it's not like super gory, but there is like, a lot of blood. Basically, you play
Mm,
um, the son of Hades, and you're just trying to uh, escape, um, uh, yeah, escape hell for a reason that for spoiler warnings, I'm not gonna say, but
mm.
you want to escape hell.
It sounds like you're following some Greek mythology
Yeah,
loosely, kind of
yes,
along the way.
um, but it is a very fun game, and you know it it is a roguelike game, and basically a roguelike is any sort of game where you know you are looking at a run by run basis as opposed to like here's like the full fledged game.
Hmm.
Um, so like failure is both accepted and encouraged as like sort of learning opportunities. Um, and then you get to like be powerful in different ways on subsequent runs, just so that it always feels fresh.
Hmm.
I'm also terrible at explaining things, so thank you for just just being like understanding what I'm getting at for the most part.
I
um,
mean, okay, so like I I don't know what it is about games where you can die. Freak me out. Ever since I was a
hmm,
kid, it's like that idea of, and maybe it's a fear of death. But
maybe.
no, I'm sure it is because I do. But I do have that. But from like a gaming perspective, like just the idea of like slashers, like or anything where you're just shooting somebody to kill
Mhm.
them, or like like cutting their head off to kill them, like whoa. That always got my heartbeat like really high and made me really scared, I guess. So that's why I've never really been into like anything that involves shoot, like Halo even. I'm like,
I
first
see.
off, I can't even see the screen. Where am I? Which one am I like playing? I can't tell. But um yeah, that's why I'm curious to know like what these other games are like, because I think Civ would be the closest thing I would say I've ever played to anything like what you have described in any of these things. And if that's the case, and you're like, whoa, this guy's not really well versed in this. I downloaded Assassin's Creed because of the discovery mode,
Oh wow.
which I haven't even gone through very much, but it's like fun. It's like, oh, get on a horse and like
Mm,
ride around Memphis or whatever. Um, but I haven't even played the game like like through the story of the game and stuff like that.
mm.
So there's a lot. I guess what I'm saying is there's a lot for me to
Oh
explore, and
yeah.
I think I'm ready to open Pandora's box, if you will, and dive into that world of slightly more violent. Slightly more violent gaming, especially in a time where you're spending 9 hours a day in front of the computer already doing work. Might as well, find some sort of outlet
Mhm.
besides going for a killer run or anything like that
Gotcha.
afterwards. So yeah.
Uh, I will say that in recent years, and probably throughout the entirety of like gaming history, but there's been like there is a fair share of just like est- I don't feel like saying the word aesthetic again. Just like sort of beautiful environment exploration discovery type games
Yeah,
where
totally.
like something like Journey where there isn't really like a fail condition in the game.
Mm.
You just kind of go through it and just like take it in,
Mm.
which I feel maybe something that appeals to you.
Yeah,
And like that's the other great thing about games is that just like there's so much variety
yeah,
that you know something that works for one person doesn't necessarily need to work for everyone.
yep, yep.
Have you ever have you considered like I don't know how much of your game consumption would be used as like an escape tool, but like uh, uh, like a Civ Edge Sim type game, so like Sim City, or even like
Oh,
a roller coaster tycoon.
I here's the other, yeah. I have those games. I haven't opened them yet. I
That is another sort of common meme around PC
that's
gaming where
like you see, like there's so many books on my shelf that I haven't opened too. Like there's that thing, right? You collect and but
with
you
the
don't
intent,
engage. Yeah.
and then you
Um
yeah, it never gets enacted.
yeah, like I'm terrible with that. But it's not like I won't enjoy them. I know I will. I've totally I have City Skylines. I have Sim City. I just haven't opened them yet. It's like every time I go to, I'm eating dinner. I'm like, oh, I want to watch something on Netflix to like eat because I eat and watch at the same time. But I end up finishing my
Hell
food
yeah.
before I select something on Netflix because there's so much choice. What do I pick? I don't know.
Mhm.
And same thing with my books. It's like, oh, I'm gonna read something. But what I don't feel like this or, and then by the time that I do like sell on something, I'm like, well, I gotta go to bed now. Like,
It's a classic case of analysis paralysis, just everywhere you
oh,
look.
completely. Um, I I will say of any particular games, I like point and clicks, adventure style point and clicks where it's like you don't have to. The mechanics don't dictate if you're going to make it through the game or
Mhm.
not, if
You
that makes sense,
the,
right?
the the
Like,
sort of execution is not on the
right?
player's like dexterity in their hands. It's
No,
just the mental decision making. So
yeah, like puzzles and stuff like that. Like, oh, that's a joy. Full disclosure, this is so embarrassing for me. But ever since I was a kid, there's this game series called the Nancy Drew game series. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
so here's the thing. In about an hour and a half, um, there's a guy who I follow on Twitch,
Hmm.
and he in the last like 2 or 3 weeks I started playing a bunch of Nancy Drew games, and it's freaking great to watch someone play a Nancy Drew game, because if at any
Being
point they
red.
come to like a puzzle that they're just struggling on and you're just kind of like yelling at your screen because like you could see the answer but you're powerless to help them other than typing like a singular message in the chat, just be like uh like just say, even just saying something simple as the words like match the colors. um, but it is like I haven't actually played any myself. um but like yeah, like Nancy Drew is something that has recently come to my attention and it just looks like a great time.
It's it's interesting, I will say. Because it was I was very involved with those games when I was growing up because that was actually one of my first computer games.
Oh wow.
They were originally designed as games for girls, like full that's exactly what the tagline was. And I think they were released at the end of the last century, and then they kind of grew into the series that they've evolved into more of just a general
Mhm.
um like
Detective
adventure point and
puzzle.
click,
Yeah.
yeah, that kind of thing. And I really enjoy them because they actually design them also so that um, very conservative households don't have issues with the content, if that makes
Mhm.
sense what I'm trying to say
Yep.
there. So like say, some people in the South, like in the very deep South of the States, where it's very, you can't, even here actually, but you can't have mention of so and so or whatever and this and that.
Mhm.
It's very very clean, very family friendly content. Um, um, and so I really enjoyed those games because I was like, I'm never going to like get slashed or anything like that in the game. Well, actually, but
Yeah.
so to speak. But I really enjoyed. I still do that series. And that's the thing. It's like when you're comfortable with something and you revert back to it all the time. It's
Mhm.
like I'll watch Friends episodes over and over again, except now it's on Netflix, it's on Crave, and I don't have Crave.
Who does?
Who I did for Letterkenny, but
True.
just for Letterkenny. Um, yeah, that was the kind of thing. So I mean, like maybe tonight I'll have a couple beers, try to make my way through another Nancy Drew game or something, or maybe I'll play Civ with a buddy of mine. I don't know. The world's my family friendly oyster. So I mean that's
As opposed to the non-family friendly oysters.
whoa. Yeah, the I love oysters though. Oh, so good. Anyways, that's an aside. But yeah, that's I
um,
that's my gaming
I'm not sure
habit.
like when in the sort of chronology of Nancy Drew, the streamer I watch, is dabbling into at this point. But like in the games that I've been watching, like she straight up will die. And
Oh yeah.
I'm just like, what is happening?
Yeah. I think in that sense though, it's like it makes sense.
Mhm.
Why? Because I think so. Um, I mean the
Like
whole.
there was a puzzle where um like the glass at a lighthouse broke and the temperatures were like decreasing.
Oh,
So
I
if
know
you don't
which game
solve
you're
the
talking about even.
yeah, if you don't solve the puzzle in time, you just freeze to death. I'm just like,
Yeah.
that's metal as hell for a
Yeah.
Nancy Drew game.
Yeah, some of it's pretty dark, I will say. But I mean, in that sense, it's kind of like a lot. It's like a consequence of your actions,
Mhm.
as opposed to like, um, you didn't avoid the gun or you
Gotcha.
were not in line of sight. Like it's logical, although it is like in hindsight or in actuality, it's quite dark, right? Or,
Mhm.
um, yeah, there's this one game where it's like you have to solve the puzzle, and if you don't, like literally like like a blade, like Edgar Allan Poe style, like comes down at you and like slashes you. Like,
And
I don't know.
that was the one with the. I think you played that through that game too. Like is like Thornton Hill or something like that, where there's like a ghost.
Oh yeah. The
Scary,
Ghost of Thornton. Yeah, that
very
one.
scary.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the thing. I think they're good games,
Oh
actually.
yeah,
Maybe
for
not the
absolutely.
there's and that inspires me to like, oh, if I ever, and I know how difficult video game development is. I know there's so many components. Actually, I don't know. I just recognize that there are a lot of components that go into making a game: the art, the music, the direction, the program, all this sort of stuff. But it's inspired me to be like, oh, this would be a cool plot for this or this or this, because I think the plots and the educational aspect, is what really appeals to me about these games. And ever since I was a kid, I don't know if you ever played like Carmen Sandiego games, like
Mhm.
where it's like, oh, you're chasing her around the world or you're chasing
And
her
you're
through
just like
time.
learning bits about geography and history
Yeah,
and stuff.
I'm a nerd. What can I say? Like, I love learning. I always will. That's I love I love educational games. Full stop. Full stop. That's uh, that I don't know what else to say. So that's inspired me to try. I haven't tried making a video game. Oh gosh.
That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of, I know it's a lot of work, and it's I because you play a game that's kind of poor and you're already like, this is terrible or whatever you think, but you don't know how many hours they put into making that what it was, and how difficult it is to get to a certain level, right? And it's and I think it's an underappreciated aspect of of it all. So yeah, I probably will never make a video game in my life, but now that I've said it out loud, maybe it's something that I'll counter in the years to come. So who knows?
I'll be sure to be on the lookout. Well, maybe start baby steps. Maybe we'll start by or you can start by just like formulating an escape room. Same
Those are
energy as a
so much
Nancy
fun.
Drew.
Those are so much fun. I love those games. I love escape rooms. I did one for my birthday a good number of years back, but I
Sick.
haven't
Did you
done
win?
it since. Of course.
Nice.
No.
I,
Indignance. Like, no, yeah, it was hard, but it was really fun. Really fun. Yeah.
I've done like 3 or 4 at this point, and I've failed like two or three of them, and I just
Mm,
like feel this sort of deep sadness when I wasn't able to succeed. I'm just like,
mm.
man.
There's some really, I don't know, like some of them have very obscure mechanics, which is funny to say because it's like real world mechanics. It's not like, you have to like press a button and this whatever, this thing comes out of nowhere. Like they're most, I don't know the what kinds that you've played through, but I know some of the ones I've played through, some of the ones, the one I played through, the one, like I was like, okay, these are all like very physical mechanics. These are things that you can't, like, it's not like a video game where it's like it makes no sense, it came out of nowhere, which helped in that kind of puzzle solving aspect, I think.
Before I
So
went to bed last night, I was watching like a video about uh not I was specifically targeting it, but a video came up where it's like here's like 10 tips to solve like any escape room.
oh
And uh the guy actually talked to a professor that actually teaches at the Brantford Laurier campus,
Oh, whoa.
because he apparently designed the sort of like Red Bull escape room like championship tournament thing. I'm just like, that's very cool and very close by. I had no idea. Um,
There was a championship? Like what?
yeah, like Red Bull does weird stuff with their money. um, they'll
Okay.
launch Felix Baumgartner out of a
Yeah.
pod in space, and they'll
Yeah.
do escape rooms competitively. Um, but yeah, just sort of like the inherent puzzle solving nature that like of an escape room,
Yeah.
um, and just like looking at the 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 type of thinking that it requires,
Oh yeah.
um, and also just the other aspect of escape rooms that appeal to me is just like usually you're not there alone. You're there with like
Yeah.
3 or 4 other people. It's like, yes, this is my wheelhouse for sure.
Yeah. It's because you have one person trying to untie whatever thing, and it's multitasking. It's I don't know if multitasking, but delegating
Mhm.
is a key part of it. Knowing what someone has to do here and stuff like that. Um, which makes me realize that might not be the kind of game for me, ironically enough, because I think about like a game like Among Us. I've never played Among Us. I've
Mhm.
I've watched YouTube videos on how to do it, and we ended up not playing it in my group. I'm like, that brings me anxiety. Like I have to like care about myself and then like do this while other people like what? Like this is no
Oh wow.
no like that's no. I've never played it, and I don't know if I want to. Like, full disclosure. Um,
That's very fair.
so no, is what it is.
Yeah. Uh, so Alan, just one structure question that I would like
Sure.
to ask.
Yeah.
Um, ask this to pretty much every guest since the second or third episode. Um, if you were to host your own version of this show where you talk to someone you haven't spoken to in a while,
Ooh.
who does anybody come to mind?
Does anybody come to
Yeah,
mind?
someone
Um,
that you would like to have on.
someone that I would like to have on. Um, I one of my fellow Nancy Drew game fans, um, Sam Mercury. I don't know if you know her of her, but she does some she's involved in some local drama scene here in KW, but we both did the radio club at Cameron together, and since then she's been involved. Her and her SO, they run a podcast together also called the Chill Spot. Not sponsored or anything. I'm just saying that. But I think it'd be really interesting to just chat with her about and see where life has taken her, and the stuff that she's involved in right now. That's one of the people that I would really like to see. Now that's from a Facebook friend perspective, or kind of like a colleague I haven't spoken to in a long time.
Mhm.
Um, that was the right
Yes.
question, right? Like, okay, it was. I was like,
Th-
was it
that-
someone from like history or something, like, or like, no. But yeah, that's. I mean, I think there's several folks. If I thought hard enough, I would say, oh yeah, that's definitely someone I'd want to reconnect with. So no.
now that it's been spoken out into the world, do you
Yeah.
think you will take up any action on it?
I do want to reconnect with my colleagues, and I don't know about recording a podcast full on about it, but I think it's a lot has changed since high school, um, as you have deducted from running so many episodes of this, I'm sure. So yeah, I think it's nice to connect in our case, or reconnect in others, and the world could always use a little more um, connectiveness, connection, joy, whatever you want to call that. Let's make things wholesome. So yeah, that's yeah.
Perfect. Wonderful answer. Did you have anything you wanted to ask me or anything that you want to talk about in in coming on to the show today?
I I had no real thought. I will say, I was thinking, okay, what is he going to ask me about? I was kind of freaking out about, like,
Mhm.
even the shower I was taking before this. I was like, okay, I need to. What was my master's on? What do I do as a job? Like, what do I like? All this while like shampooing my hair, which is always like where your deepest thoughts come from,
Oh
right? It's
yeah.
the, you know, I
Being in the shower is the most like intense moment because there aren't a lot of times in my life where I'm naked, and the shower is just like pretty much the only one. So it's just like it is the most like bare bones human moment
it
that I
really
have
is.
on a regular basis.
Yeah, the it's one of my favorite YouTubers is Community Channel, or Natalie Tran, and her, like, she has her shower thoughts video thing, and that's one that I always come back to. I'm always like, yep, we're gonna the answer to world peace shouldn't be at like a world congress. It should be everybody taking a shower and then like I don't know if converse, not necessarily together, but like individually. First off, Corona, but also, just thinking through that, because I don't know what it is. Is it like, is it simulating being in the womb with all that warm water all over us, assuming it's a warm shower? Is it just like a fresh breath of reality when it's a cold? Who knows?
Who knows?
Um, but yeah, that I in my my answer to your question is not really.
That is
I'm
perfectly
just
fine.
I'm happy to chat about anything, and just to connect and chat. So yeah.
Well, Alan, it's been wonderful having you on. As
Thank
this
you.
is a podcast, I do like to give my guests a moment to promote anything that either they are doing or believe warrants people's attention.
Hmm.
So, did you have anything you would like to share at this time?
Oof, I did not come prepared with anything to um, plug, but if I, you know what, I will say we've talked a lot about choir and general arts organizations, and a lot of them are really struggling in this time. So for anybody here who is listening and knows of some arts organizations or are passionate about making sure that um, these organizations remain afloat, especially in a time like this where we can't have concerts, we can't. Some fundraisers are very limited in what they can actually do, and with even further stay-at-home restrictions and whatnot, it's a tough time for the arts, especially. So if you can find some way of supporting an artist you like, whether it's in music or visuals or whatever it may be, contribute or do something. Please provide awareness, because we really need it here in the arts. Yeah.
Perfect. Alan, thank you so much for sharing this afternoon with me.
Thank you for having me.
I wish you the best of luck as you enter, I guess, the third month of your new job.
It's exciting. Yeah, it really is. Literally, actually, no, actually, third month. Thank you.
So yeah, that'll do it for us all here today at Hello, We Don't Talk But Suck. So whoever you, dear listener, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are, thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.